This week on the EWA podcast, it's my all-time personal favorite guest that I've ever had on. So stay tuned because this, my friends, is a special one.
All right, welcome EWA Universe. This is Brett Albers here, taking over the podcast for iteration number 9. We've kind of reversed roles a little bit, and I'd like to welcome Craig as my guest for the week. So we're going to have a chance to ask him some questions and kind of get his view on the EWA. Welcome, Craig.
Well, what an honor to be here. This is pretty incredible what you guys are doing.
There was an overwhelming groundswell for you to be a guest on the show. So
I saw the support on the forums, and I want to say hi to everyone out there. And it's cool to have you guys hear my voice. It's awesome.
And the way I see it is we see you ask all the hard questions every single week to the guests you have, but no one gets to ask you the hard questions. So it's time to put you on the hot seat.
You want to put me on the hot seat? That's fine. I know I come on. I listen to the podcast, and I hear, that those guys, they have to answer some tough questions, but they do it so well and eloquently. They really do.
They sure do, yeah. Way to be politically correct.
Hosting's easy, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I can't mess anything up, can I?
No. Through the process of editing, you really can't screw up.
All right, well let's get started. I want to make this podcast, this interview, pretty much EWA based because I've got a lot of questions about your role in the Fed and kind of how you see yourself amongst the rest of the roster. So just to start off, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with role playing and eFeds?
I started out young. It was probably like my sophomore year of high school. And I don't even know how I found eFedding. I think it was, I used to go to this site called lethalwrestling.com, and then that turned into zerorespect.com. And I actually wrote for Zero Respect at like 16. It was insane. And I was just writing like really stupid stuff. Like I was making fun of the Genius and things like that. Like just really weird stuff. And then I think through that, like I found eFedding, and I don't know, I ended up running my own eFed with this British guy. I don't remember his name. And it was forum-based. And, like, we used Zeus to do our results. If you guys remember or ever used an eFed that did Zeus. Yeah. And it would just do, like, crazy random moves. Like, it would just be like, Rey Mysterio body slams Abdullah the Butcher, and stuff like that. Like, that was what was happening in matches. And
no rhyme or reason. Someone would win with a front face lock.
Yeah, it didn't have like a basis of like reasoning in it. It just had like moves and the two wrestlers, and we used that, and it was pretty successful. Like we were running it pretty well. We had like 20 to 25 members, and I got out of that, and then I wound up staying out of eFeds for like 10 years, and felt like I wanted to see, hey, is this shit still around? And so I Googled it, and
you hit a real low point in your life where the only other option you had was to return to eFedding.
Yeah, like I was playing a lot of World of Warcraft and just doing like creative writing about like my life and stuff, and I was trying to teach myself to play the bass guitar. I was going through like an existential midlife crisis to a perfect T. And so I was like, I think I'll check out eFeds. And I actually registered at a few forums that were dead. I had no idea. And then I found the EWA, and I came here and started out here. Cody Rhodes was available, and that's who I wanted to be, and the rest has been just beautiful history.
It was meant to be. So tell me, if you had come to the EWA at that time and Cody Rhodes was not available, do you think you would have joined?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I think at that time, like, I had it stuck in my head so much that I wanted to be Cody Rhodes, and I wanted to make Cody Rhodes more successful than the real-life iteration of him.
Well, for everybody listening, just a little background on Craig and his slight obsession with Cody Rhodes. The guy, I've never seen a guy care so much about how someone does in a match on TV. Every single time Cody Rhodes comes on TV, you know, he lights up, he's IMing me and Jazz and saying, "Oh, Cody Rhodes is on TV," and then he's crushed every single time he loses to somebody like Tensai. So, you know, the way I see it is your fortunes lie directly into how Cody Rhodes, you know, succeeds in life. If he fails, you're going to fail. So,
well, it's true, and I think WrestleMania was a shining example of just like my disappointment in pure form.
Yeah,
And I knew we were going to do the job at WrestleMania, like Sandow and Rhodes, and I just couldn't. Like, it was probably better to just not be on the show, but it was just so heartbreaking for me. Like, I take it so I think I take that just as personal as EWA losses.
Well, I don't know if you read anything about it, but it turns out that the match was pulled for the card not because of time constraints, but because they were filming for that new Bella's E! Channel reality show, and they wanted to use them pulling them off the card of WrestleMania as an angle for the show. So they did that to create heat for the show, so that then in whatever episodes are coming up of this E! Diva show or whatever, they use that as a way to make a storyline. So, you know, you directly affected the new E! Reality television show.
This is the sound of me slitting my wrist.
So that's where Cody Rhodes' stature is in the WWE these days. So,
son of a bitch. And you know the thing was, like, he put on that match with Orton last week.
Yeah.
And now that I got to thinking about it, like, yeah, it was cool to have a 16-minute match with Orton, but there was absolutely no chance of winning it.
No, from the very get-go, you know, he didn't even get a real entrance, you know.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Can we go back in Raw history and see if anybody who's ever got a short entrance like that, where they just show the guy in the ring already, have they ever won the match?
Yeah, I don't think they've ever come back during the Attitude Era and, like, Stone Cold was in the ring waiting. And they're like, here comes Savio Vega now.
Yeah. All right, well, to get back to EWA, because really that's all anybody wants to hear about, why Cody Rhodes? Why do you feel like that's the character for you?
I think this kind of stems from, like, my obsession with other sports. I always like the teams and stuff like that and, like, players that are, like, right there, but they don't get enough credit. You know, like, good teams. You know, I'm a big-time Seattle Seahawks fan. No one really ever cheers for them. They've kind of been under the radar, and, you know, like, when they're good, it's unexpectedly good. And when they're bad, they're supposed to be bad. So it's kind of like just a full-on underdog story every year. And that's how I feel about Cody Rhodes, too, is he's an excellent worker.
Yeah.
I love watching him wrestle. It's just very pure. He can kind of do everything. And I just think he's entertaining as hell and just has, like, you know, just...
Do you prefer his current gimmick, or do you prefer some of the older stuff he did when he was dashing Cody Rhodes with the mask and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think the time he had with the mask was definitely like the high point of Cody Rhodes' career. And then right after he got done with the mask, he had he had like 47 minutes in the Rumble, and then he was in the Elimination Chamber, and then he had like the Intercontinental match with the Big Show, and then everything has just been a giant shit show ever since.
Absolutely.
You're agreeing with that. You're such a prick.
I totally agree with that. It's been a downward spiral ever since you took over in the EWA. It's actually punished Cody Rhodes in real life.
Oh my God, I haven't realized that. Holy shit. I'm the reason Cody Rhodes is being held back. Fuck.
So to continue, so far in your time, have you had a favorite match or event that you've participated on? And we'll go ahead and take Super Brawl out of the equation. Everybody says that Super Brawl is their favorite match. Do you have a personal match where Cody Rhodes, where you felt like it was just the best showing you've ever had?
Actually, yeah, and we didn't just to clarify, we didn't go over any of these questions beforehand, so he's kind of throwing me for a curve here. But honestly, there was a moment where I kind of felt like, well, when I came into the EWA, I worked an angle with Al Snow right off the bat, and I was kind of like a comedy guy, like Cody Rhodes was like fighting with his butlers and maids and stuff, you know? And then there was kind of a point where like I turned a corner, and it was right after Lethal Lottery, and we were working a tag team match where we were going up against Paul Burchill and Chris Jericho, and we did a thing where we got into, Val Venus and Cody Rhodes got into a bar fight and had to spend the night in a jail cell together, and we did this series of joint role plays, and I just thought like that was just, like we were actually telling a story for once.
So
like,
I'll go ahead and take credit. All of Craig's success has been because he teamed with me.
It's true, because right after that, the triple threat match, and I won the national title, and I kind of, took my game to the next level. But yeah, it was that match that really showed me. I was like, man, you can really do so much more in e-fetting these days. Like, it's not just like campy, hokey shit. Like, like you're in there telling stories, and you're doing some fun stuff with cool people. So
I think you see that quite a bit, because a lot of the people who do comedy the best in the EWA, have other characters that are their serious characters. You see Al Snow and Steve Blackman, then you see Shark Boy and Kurt Angle. Some of the best role players kind of have an outlet for that comedy side, and then that allows them to take the serious stuff, seriously. So
yeah, but at the same time, I kind of feel like this is something John and I talked about last week. Not to break kayfabe, but I'm actually the host of this podcast. But anyways, John and I were talking last week after it went off the air. Like, a lot of people I think a lot of people enjoy being those characters more. Like, they're like, they enjoy winning with their main characters, like with Kurt Angle and stuff, and Steve Blackman. But I think they have more fun writing as Shark Boy and Al Snow and those guys. And I can totally relate to that, too. Like, I have a blast writing the Wade Barrett stuff. And if you're not reading what Ambrose and Barrett are doing, if you're really into, like, Lost and sci-fi shit, like, you really need to be checking out the stuff Brett and I are doing, because, we're pretty far out there, but I really, like, absolutely love the stuff that we're doing these days under those characters.
It may make no sense to anybody else, but we enjoy doing it, so we'll keep doing it. So
that's right. I don't think you can jump in right now and follow it, but yeah, I love what we're doing with them.
Maybe we'll do something like Jeff and the Invisible War and do a little recap thread, get everybody up to speed. So
yeah, and we could get it stickied on the front page. Maybe we just have their own subform for us.
Yeah, just every time we role play, people have to go to that one. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, I like that.
Right. Yeah.
That's the penis in my anus.
So, tell me, have you read Slam for this week? I know it was just posted today, and I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but do you have any thoughts or feedback on the event?
Oh, man, well, yeah, there was a little too much Vegas connection for my liking. Jesus tits, will you guys just get over yourselves already?
We had a lot of stuff to cover this week, so.
Yeah, so did I, and I did it in like 4 lines.
When we all decide to write segments and then don't tell each other that we're writing one and then submit it. So.
I understand. No, I thought it was a good slam. Had a match with Sandow this week, and it was the first time that it's like it's the first time I've had somebody do the full amount of role plays in a match. So that was
somebody actually tried against you. So
yeah, what the hell? What K2 needs to know his place and step the fuck down. Go to the store, you piece of shit.
I think the store's full. It's at capacity. They can't let anybody else in.
Oh shit, then that's bad for me. No, it was a good slam. It was another great show for us.
Well, we saw quite a few returns. Shark Boy came back, and John Cena, and an appearance of Bray Wyatt during your match. Do you know anything about that Bray Wyatt kind of appearance, or was that something that kind of threw you for a loop?
That has nothing to do with Cody Rhodes or the Entourage. That's someone else doing their own thing there, I assure you. It threw me for a loop, too, whenever I was reading the results.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a surprise, but I'm curious to see where that leads,
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Yeah. So kind of going on and thinking about your favorite matches and what you want to do with Cody Rhodes, do you have an opponent that you haven't faced yet that you kind of really just want to have an all-out great match with?
Yeah, I do. This sounds bad. I really want to have a match with Punk. Like, I just love the way that TZ plays him. And yeah, it's kind of just a straight shoot of the CM Punk that we see on TV, but there's just, I don't know, like there's just so much more that he does with it. He does a great job. And, you know, we had that triple threat match a couple weeks ago, and when I was reading his stuff, I was like, man, like I would just love to do just like a full on like month with this guy and do some fun stuff with him. But, you know, like I haven't done stuff with Angle. I did a little stuff with Carino, but we never really had a match. You know, the heavy hitters in the EWA, I've not really been able to rub elbows with them. Blackman, Carino, you know, Venus and we did some stuff, but, you know, I would love to do some stuff with Angle and Punk in the future down the road.
I imagine you'll get your chance, you know. It's hard. You think about it, there are a lot of heavy hitters in the company, and I haven't even faced everybody that I'd want to face, and I've been here just a little bit longer than you have. But, you know, it's one of those things where everybody wants to have a really strong, solid feud with whoever they're working with, and so it's hard to fit everybody in without it getting just too congested.
Yeah. It'd be easier if, like, everyone just worked with the same person for, like, you know, a set amount of time, and then everyone just kind of switched when the time came, but that's not how it works sometimes. Yeah. Other people's clocks on their feuds are different than other people's, so it's tough to work out at times.
Yeah. So I know you follow a lot of the people in the Fed, and you keep pretty up to speed with some of the new talent. Is there someone you've seen that's been your favorite new superstar of 2013?
That's a good question. It's difficult because most of the guys that have come in have faded off. So, you know, you want to come out and say Eddie Kingston, and you want to come out and say, you know, Brock Lesnar, because these guys have been doing some terrific work, and they've been very consistent, and that's the key, you know, to come out and do that. I liked what I saw from James Storm and Dolph Ziggler this week. Had a chance to read their stuff and was pretty impressed with it. I hope they stick with it, because there's, you know, Scott has his reputation as James Storm, and, you know, if he needs to understand how talented he is as a writer and understand that it just takes a level of consistency, and he has the characters Scott has joined he has their tone down and their voice down, and he does a tremendous job with them, and he just needs to realize that sometimes losses happen, and, you know, you just need to stick with something, and the longer you stick with it, you know, the EWA is a place where you get what you put in, and, you know, if you put in the time and effort, you're going to be rewarded for it. So
We've had this conversation with Jazz a few times where, you know, you get what you put in, and you see where he's kind of turned around with Heath Slater because he put in some more effort into, you know, developing that character into a serious contender, you know, and it pays off. You know, you can turn around, you get wins, you get noticed, you get storylines, and, you know, these guys that come in with a bang in the first 2 weeks and then realize they're not suddenly contending for a title and they wonder why. It's because, you know, there's a history of people coming in and then fizzling before they ever get a chance to make an impact, you know?
Yeah, the guys come in, the guys like Dolph Ziggler and the guys like Mr. Anderson, and they start the threads and they're like, hey, you know, it's nice to be here. My name's Casper. My name's Dutch Mantel, or, you know, whatever it is. And, you know, that's nice, but we don't care how friendly you are right now. We want to see the fact that you can consistently show up for matches whenever you're booked for them.
Come back in a month and tell me after you've had 4 matches, you know?
Yeah, like, trust me, we know you're nice people, all right? Like, we get it. That not a lot of people out here are pricks about this, especially whenever they're starting out. So just come out, show up for your matches, and I guarantee someone along the line. It may not be now, it may not be 3 weeks from now, but someone will want to work with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and that's kind of the philosophy I took when I joined, and you did too. You know, you get in there and just take every match you possibly can, and you may have no real momentum as far as the storyline goes, but you just develop and work, and eventually you're looked at as somebody that's consistent enough to actually have a program with. So, kind of to think about, you know, where you are in terms of Cody Rhodes right now. You've had the national title for a fair amount of time, back since Super Brawl. Do you have a do you have an idea of, like, do you think that your time as national champion has helped boost the division, or do you find that it's actually become less competitive because of the lack of contenders?
I think there are contenders out there. I think I, in the last month, dropped the ball. Like, I had a chance probably to do something better at Undisputed than what I wound up doing. And not that working with Gregory Iron was any, you know, bad thing, because it wasn't, but it was kind of a last-moment thing. I think I should have jumped on the Kingston bandwagon beforehand, and trust me, the match that Kingston and Jazz had, role plays were terrific for the whole week from both of them. So, not downplaying either one of them, not saying that Jazz and Kingston shouldn't have worked together or anything like that, but, you know, it has a chance to be competitive. I think guys like Kingston and Lesnar and Slater, with the work he's been doing, these guys deserve a shot. And, you know, I don't think I've killed the division. I don't think Cody's killed the division. I think the severe lack of competition has hurt it. And when I say that, it means guys have gone to the store when they finally got a chance to face me. And, you know, I'm not going to back down from anybody. I'll guarantee anyone right now, unless we work it out beforehand, if you have a title match with me, you're getting the 2 or 3 role plays for that week. Like, I'm not going to back down to anyone, but at the same time, like, if there's like a passing of the torch that needs to happen, you know, I'm more than happy to help out with that as well, you know.
Well, thinking about it, you know, it's hard because, you know, a lot of people who have been in the Fed for a while would say that the EWA is a bit top-heavy right now. You know, we've got a lot of former Grand Slam and Triple Crown champions who are, you know, in feuds or working in tag teams or, you know, continuing storylines that don't have anything to do with the title. And it's hard because I think a lot of folks who have been at the top, myself included, you know, our first inclination is not to turn around and go back and contend for the national title, which you may have won before. You know, so it's hard because everybody wants to see that title elevated to the level where, you know, the top level main event guys can work for it. But at the same time, no one wants to seem like they're fighting for the second best title when they used to be a Grand Slam champion. You know,
that's the thing, yeah. And I would probably be guilty of it too. Like,
yeah.
And I don't know. I'm trying to say this without sounding like a giant dick, but I feel like no matter who I lost the title to, like, I'd be like, all right, well, done with that. Time to go on to bigger and better things, you know? And I would totally be that guy, too, whenever I'm sitting here going, let's fucking go, Carino. You know, like, let's go. I get Angle out of retirement, get his ass in this ring with me. You know, like, I would be happy right now to take on any of those guys for this title, because not only would, you know, it elevate my game if I was able to beat them, but I know that it would help elevate the national title to, you know, the level, like, it would make it seem super competitive if, like, it was next month, it was like Kurt Angle and Cody Rhodes for the national title, or Val Venus and Cody Rhodes, and, you know, like, yeah, when you have that top tier guy, once they get rid of the national title, or, you know, they lose it, like, you just kind of feel above it, you know, and it's not that it's bad, because obviously you're a talented writer, and that's why you held the title. But, you know, there's that area of guys who are not going for the Grand Slam title, but probably kind of feel like a national title run right now would kind of diminish their character, you know.
Well, I enjoyed when back at King of the Ring when we did our feud with Paul Burchill and Val Venus.
Yeah.
It's because it felt like it was bookended by someone coming towards the national title, Cody Rhodes, and me as the defending champion, and then Paul Burchill kind of bringing some prestige as a former, you know, Grand Slam champion. it really brought the stakes of the match up. And I felt like that, if anything, was kind of a height of the division in the last year. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or say that we're that much better, but, there was serious storyline behind it. And I was a little sad to see after that passed. You had the great match with Edge, and then Super Brawl happened. But ever since the beginning of the year, it's, the national title has a kind of a warm place in my heart. But it seems like people haven't really wanted to step up and take the chance to fight you for it. And it's like a running joke now that if you try to challenge, Craig for the national title, you're going to get either fired or you're going to fall off the face of the earth. So.
Yeah, and it's been difficult too. Part of me wants to help elevate someone to the next level,
Yeah.
Like, I would love to help someone like, Brad Maddox or Heath Slater or, even whenever we were doing it, guys like Bourne or Cena, take that next step and, establish themselves as, like, a champion here. Like, I would love to, be a part of something like that. But at the same time, like, I also want to keep challenging myself, too. And I think that showed with the triple threat match that, we had with Teasy a couple of weeks ago. Like, that was me being like, I know I kind of took some shit in that thread for booking it myself, but I kind of wanted to not face a no-show. Like, I wanted to push myself and go up against someone that, or in this case, two people who are extremely talented, and I kind of wanted to test my worth because it hadn't been tested in a while,
Well, at least you didn't drop the ball and get your ass kicked like I did. So
I didn't take the pinfall. I ain't mad.
Exactly. Val Venus took it.
I ain't mad.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, to switch gears away from the division, if you were to pick an EWA gimmick, and we'll stick with one that's, different from what the character may have on television, but if there's a gimmick or a character in the EWA, which one do you think would be the best fit to be a current television character in the WWE?
Oh, man, it's without a doubt. It's the way Dan plays Paul Burchill. I mean, could you imagine a character like that on TV today?
Imagine that would be the height of the Attitude Era, a character like that, or even today,
I don't think that there's anyone on TV right now doing what Dan did with Paul Burchill.
By the way, I'm glad to see Dan popping up on the forum again. We've all missed him, his quips and his commentary.
Yeah, and, it's all a matter of just getting John on the podcast, which I now firmly believe John and Dan are the same person.
Quite dual personalities right there,
Yeah.
Nice guy on one and then Dan on the other. Who's nice?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, let's it's hard for me to really think about anything else to bring up. Is there a favorite storyline that you see right now in the EWA that's kind of your favorite to follow outside of what you're doing yourself?
Yeah, the stuff that Venus is doing with Kevin Steen is really, really good right now. You guys are coming up with new and creative things, and for those of you who missed it, like, Kevin Steen is relegating himself to Fury now and having, like, Edge is back with Kevin Steen doing some stuff with him, and I don't want to give away anything too much, but there's some really good stuff going on right now between Venus and Kevin Steen. You guys are doing some really good writing. It's kind of fun to watch.
And I'm just trying to run with it because I'll tell you, JD is a really creative type, and he seems to come up with these ideas off the top of his head each and every week. And I've never really seen myself as being the most creative, angle builder or storyline builder. I usually just take what I'm given and try to work with it. And JD has just had some great ideas, and it's really, really easy to work with a character like Kevin Steen because he's just this bombastic, over-the-top, complete piece of shit, essentially. But he's a great guy to kind of foil myself against with Val. So I'm glad that at least you're enjoying it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's play a game. I know you have gained some fame with the types of games that you've played with your various hosts, but I wanted to play an edition of Would You Rather.
Oh, okay. This sounds like fun.
It does sound like fun, and I wish I came up with a couple of these questions. I will say a couple of them I got from some websites, to get the most most over-the-top things I can possibly ask you. So you'll see a little bit of stuff that's related to the EWA, but for the most part, this is just as over-the-top as we can get. So, all right, Craig. Would you rather be 5'4" tall or 7'7" tall?
Oh man, well, I feel like I got to go 5'4" here. I don't like the idea of people staring at me for reasons that are out of my control. Like, I don't mind making an ass of myself in public, but I don't want to
Wait 1 second. I'm going to correct myself here. I meant to say, would you rather be 4'5" tall or 7'7" tall?
Son of a bitch! It seems like they're going to stare at me either way now, aren't they?
They sure are.
Well, hell yeah! Then I want to be over 7 feet tall so I can play in the NBA. Obviously.
Would you rather have legs as long as your fingers or fingers as long as your legs?
Oh man, I guess that I want fingers as long as my legs so I can play in the NBA.
Somehow I think they wouldn't let you play. That would somehow be a violation of the rules.
That's racist, probably.
I didn't say anything about the color of your skin, just the length of your fingers.
Oh, never mind then.
Would you rather be able to run at 100 miles per hour or fly at 10 miles per hour?
That's a good question. I guess I want to be... Man, I don't know. Question. If I run 100 miles an hour, can I, like, see things and move around them, like, in time? Or am I just, like, running into trees and caves like Wile E. Coyote?
I feel like physics apply here. You know, I know flying is kind of against the law of gravity, but, you know, if you're running, I would say you're moving as fast as a car would be at 100 miles per hour, so you'd see what you would in a car. So.
All right. And so I would have, like, the same physics as, like, a car. It would be, like, hard to slow down and stuff.
Exactly.
I guess I'm going to go with flying at 10 miles an hour, but I'm not happy about this decision because I feel like I could travel pretty long distances in a short amount of time. Would it help me lose weight if I ran 100 miles an hour?
I would imagine so, you know.
I'm not a fat guy. Let the EWA universe know. Strike the fact from the record in your head that you think I'm fat.
He has a girlfriend, so he's got to be worth something. So.
Oh, shit.
Would you rather have your girlfriend as a guest on the podcast or a member of the EWA?
I have talked to my girlfriend about... I wanted to work this segment with her where she came on and read parts of role plays, like just read them out loud, and then like reacted to it, and it was just like a segment I had like every week where she comes on and reads like 10 lines from a BWO role play and then reacts to it, or like reads like, you know, a paragraph from like an Eddie Kingston role play and then reacts to it. So I think I would like to have her on the podcast because, I mean, I'm getting to the end of having almost every EWA Universe member on that wants to come on, so I think eventually the girlfriend will make an appearance in a segment where it's called, like, My Girlfriend Reads Your Role Plays or something like that.
It's completely out of context. She can't understand what it's coming from at all. Just like a paragraph by the BWO completely by itself.
Yeah, she would get no backstory, and I would just, like, hand it to her in an envelope, and she would have to read it. And she'd be like, Colt Cabana says, "Hey, you fart face, let's go play Pokemon down by the river," and just stuff like that. I think that'd be hilarious.
It would be. All right. Would you rather sweat mayonnaise or poop a softball?
Well, considering it takes a lot for me to sweat. Like, I can seriously go run a mile and never sweat. I'm going to take the mayonnaise one, but, man, I'm not happy about either one of these choices, to be honest.
I'm trying not to make it easy for you. I'm giving you the hardest questions I can.
I don't want to, okay, in that instance, do I have to poop a softball all the time or just once?
Just once.
Okay, do I have to sweat mayonnaise all the time or just once?
I would imagine it's a one-time occurrence both times.
Really? All right, well, then I'm going to go mayonnaise. But if I had to sweat mayonnaise all the time, I'm pooping a softball.
Would you rather talk like Jar Jar Binks or look like Jar Jar Binks?
Misa no have problem talking like Jar Jar Binks.
The caveat is you can't kill yourself. You're stuck like that for the rest of your life.
So I have to look like Jar Jar for the rest of my life or talk like Jar Jar. I'm going to go talk like Jar Jar. And to be honest, I would probably talk like Gollum before I look like Jar Jar Binks.
That's about right, yeah.
That's a tough question.
Trying to compose myself because these questions are really hard to get out. So, would you rather be sexually attracted to fruit or have Cheeto dust permanently stuck on your fingers?
Well, I hate the Cheeto dust on my fingers, but okay. Now, would I just be aroused by the fruit, or would I have to have sex with it?
I feel like you would not be satisfied unless you procreated with the fruit.
So I would have to bang the fruit.
Yeah, pretty much.
And in the Cheeto instance, do things I touch get Cheeto residue on them?
I would imagine so. It's just regenerating Cheeto dust. Your fingers are like constantly covered in Cheeto dust, and it gets everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, man. I think I want to be sexually aroused by the fruit. It's a tough one, but...
That is. I guess it depends on what fruit. Like a citrus fruit, I feel like that might hurt, you know?
Oh, my God. That would sting so hard. I would shit a softball if I had to fuck an orange.
Just you and a grapefruit going to town.
Oh, yeah. Like, I would get down on grapefruit. Now, are there certain fruits that I'm more sexually attracted to than other ones?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like women. You may be more sexually attracted to one type or the other. It's going to be your personal preference.
Do I see a kiwi and I'm like, oh, you hairy little bitch.
You might.
I'm going to fuck you.
Moving on. Would you
okay, we're just moving right on from that. To talk about fucking a kiwi, and we're just like, moving on. Transition. Go ahead.
Would you rather have a pet dragon or be a dragon?
Okay. If I'm a dragon, am I someone else's pet?
I mean, you're a dragon. I guess you're only a pet in the sense that if they can still control you.
In this situation, do people fucking hate dragons?
Let's just say that if you're familiar with the Game of Thrones universe, you're a dragon in that sense.
I think, okay, is there a chance my pet dragon will kill me?
I mean, yeah, if you don't treat him right, he might breathe fire right on you.
All right, then I'm going to take the pet dragon then.
Okay.
Absolutely no reason why. I'm going to be fucking fruit, shitting softballs with my pet dragon.
Would you rather speak any language fluently or talk to animals?
Holy shit, man. Now, in the instance where I'm able to talk to animals, can they understand me and talk back to me? Or am I like, hey, how are you? And they're like, chocolate goldfish, fruit dust. Are they saying that back?
It's reciprocal, like just like you would talk to someone else in another language.
All right, well...
And meow with the cat, so...
I have no reason to be bi, tri, or quadlingual, so I'm going to choose the animal one, just because I think that'd be pretty messed up.
You'll be able to talk to your pet dragon.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be able to speak Dragonese.
At least you're putting together a nice life for yourself with the situation.
I am. I'd be able to talk to like Ultimo Dragon. Remember him?
Yeah.
he was trained by Bruce Lee. Did you know that?
Not know that. No.
Yeah, I keep my WWE encyclopedia in the bathroom, and I just read that this morning.
Yeah, I should go back to mine. I've got my copy as well, but I should look
Is it in the
up.
bathroom?
It used to be, but I finished it, so I've moved it to the bookshelf. I have a special area of the bookshelf reserved for books that used to be in the bathrooms. They're quarantined.
Book's been flagged.
Oh, it's been flagged. Okay, would you rather not have sex with a goat, but everyone thinks you did, or have sex with a goat and nobody knows?
In the situation where I don't, but everyone thinks I do they, fucking judge me for it? Do they think I'm an awful person because of it?
I mean, how would you react if you genuinely believed that your good friend had sex with a goat?
Well, I still hang out with Jazz.
Oh, boy.
I think oh, man. This is the worst. This is the worst one. Because either way, you're a goat fucker.
Either way, you're either known or
think,
you're it.
yeah, I think I want the one where I don't do it with the GOAT, but everybody thinks I did.
People move on from bad reputations. You can just
Yeah, because I think I would turn it into like some sort of like publicity thing. The incredible GOAT Humping Craig or something. Some gimmick that Ed can use later on.
So would you rather see the Brooklyn Nets win the NBA championship or Cody Rhodes win the WWE title?
Yeah, that's a good one. I've followed Darren Williams a long time, and I feel like I've been following Cody Rhodes since I first started watching. God, I love Darren Williams, and I love the thought of someone you don't expect winning. And I just feel like Cody Rhodes, like as bad as Brooklyn sucks, I feel like Cody Rhodes winning the title would just be like, it'd be like my son winning. I remember growing up when Kurt Angle won the title, like I was a huge fan right off the bat. Loved him whenever he came in, and when he won, I felt vindicated. I was like, I've been with this guy since the very damn beginning, like I was one of those guys. And so I feel like I would be the same way with Cody. I'd be like, that's my guy. Like no one gives a shit, but that's my guy. So yeah, I would pick Cody.
Give it G1, but I know you would. So. Well, that's good. Well, yeah, it's been a pleasure. Is there anything else you want to add as being a guest? How does it feel to be on the opposite side of the interview?
I can understand how it'd be nerve-wracking because these guys come in and they have no idea what the hell I'm going to ask them. And generally it's all pretty canned stuff. And I try and lighten the mood to get people comfortable. And I want people to come on and be comfortable. And I want them to talk about things that bother them, or I want them to be candid about EWA-related stuff. We need to realize that what we're doing here, it's a game, and at the same time, it's super competitive. And, there are things that I wish were different. I wish that I didn't have to face no-shows. I wish every now and again that results would go up sooner. That's once in a blue moon, I understand why they don't, but, I also understand that EWA is a great place. So, I think that this podcast is another shining example of that.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the Fed is a cut above the rest. We've all seen plenty of other ones out there that claim to be the best, and they've got their reasons why they're good. But I've never been a part of a Fed that has been this consistently, high caliber. And the fact that in its 13th year, we're seeing, strides to kind of build the community of the Fed. This time last year, we didn't have a podcast, we didn't have a magazine, we didn't have consistent rankings, we didn't have a community cane. So it's obvious that we're all putting in the effort we can to kind of make the Fed a better place and more enjoyable, and hopefully we see the Fed grow even at this age.
I'm just going to go ahead and tell this story real quick, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but because there's a chance that someone might hear this that, we'll get it back to them. But there was a person just last weekend that was talking shit to Brett and I about the EWA, and I'm a 29-year-old man, I don't like arguing about stuff like this because it makes me feel, I don't know, just weird, but I was so defensive. I was like, what is wrong with you? What is so better about this place that you're talking about than the EWA? I was like, look at the community that we have here, and look at the members. Look at the role plays. They're not just stupid fluff bullshit posts full of pictures and all this other stupid stuff. We both. Well, I got defensive, and I wound up just blocking the person. But
I definitely got defensive too, and I probably got a little more hot tempered than you did, because from what you were telling me, the person you were talking to, you were, trying to convince them to join. Say, come enjoy the EWA, be part of it, see why it's so great. You weren't trying to push them away, but they were just really, really judgmental about the Fed, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're a pretty private Fed. You can't come in and see all the results and role plays without joining and getting approved, essentially. So, if you come to the EWA, you're taking a chance when you join because it's been around for a long time. But until you get involved with the weekly, matches and seeing results, you don't really notice the quality until you're, in it. So
right,
that has its balance there, where we probably don't attract as many new role players as other feds do because we're a little bit more selective. But at the same time, it keeps the riffraff out, and we're better off because of it.
That's right. And I think that's a key point too. Is generally we accept everyone's applications, but we don't, as a group, we don't put up with bullshit.
We sure don't.
Steve pushes it. So
yeah.
Get your shit straight, Steve. Primetime players.
Oh boy.
That's all I wanted to say as a guest. I would love to have anyone on that wants to come on. I know I've got some good guests lined up. That should not deter you. If you hear this, if you want to be a part of this, if you want to come on, I more than welcome you. This is such a fun thing for me to do, and I love being able to give back to the community and be a part of the EWA. I love the people that I've met here and talk with, and I think this podcast, like I said, is a big part of that. So, if you want to come on to the podcast, that'd be great. And I would love to have anyone on that wants to come on.
And to kind of echo the sentiments, I'm glad to have the opportunity here to kind of give you a voice as a guest. You can walk away from the responsibility of asking all the hard questions and be able to kind of spill your mind. So I'm honored that I was able to come in and be the guest host and give you an opportunity to answer some questions. And to the rest of the EWA universe, I promise you won't have to listen to me much longer. Craig will be back to normal. He'll be your radio star, your host next week, and he'll probably have a much more interesting guest than himself on, because we know the real reason he's the host is because nobody would invite him onto their podcast. So
no, absolutely not. I would still be begging someone to please come onto the podcast.
And for those of you that think that I've been on here way too much, I agree. I'm tired of talking to Craig. He's kind of boring sometimes. So no.
Well, I don't doubt it, man. If I'm running out of guests, I'm like, shit. I guess I'll just ask Brett. And everybody's like, oh, you guys have too much of the Vegas connection on there. You guys shouldn't have so much Vegas connection. I'm like, I'm not even in the Vegas connection. James won't come on the podcast. Brad Maddox won't come on the podcast. Steve's too scared to come on. The entourage won't come on the podcast. So I have to just stick with these dipshits in the Vegas connection.
Well, I'm sure that people are lining up now to be a guest, and I can't wait to hear who you have next week. And are you excited? Next week is the 10th podcast. That's a big deal.
10 weeks. After the first one, I never thought it would have lasted past 2. But they're easy to record, they're easy to edit, and they're easy to post. And people seem to enjoy them. So I don't mind doing this on a weekly basis. I kind of thought initially that it would get to be like a bi-weekly type thing, but as long as people want to still come on and talk to me about EWA and WWE, I'm more than happy just to keep these things pounded out.
No, that's great. Well, thank you for being on the show, and I'll leave that with thanking everybody else for listening, and then I can't wait till next week. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.